TFC is crazy. Lots of people, lots of games. My favorite thing about it is that there is a focus on all the games at the same time. So everywhere you look, you see KUF over here, see Street Fighter and Marvel over there, then like any of the demo stations. But I spent most of my time in the arcade area playing like all the old school games. Tekken Turbo was sick. My favorite part was seeing Team Rolex, which is like Roger and Alex, just like an unheard of team to see them in top 8. But of course, a lot of my friends and just seeing all of them do well and play better than they did the last time I seen them. 707 was cool. I got to play second in position. So my first match I did pretty well. And then I played Speed Kicks, who just, I don't know what the hell he was on. He had some like Back to the Future time travel machine, and he was like a robot, dude. And we couldn't get through his defense. So I went all out and I got punished for it. But he did really, really well. Can't take anything away from the kid. Double Helix, like they basically approached me and they were talking about just having somebody who wanted to head up all the community stuff. Basically try to build games around like feedback and responses around games. And they told me some of their games that they have for their lineup. And the first game that they told me was Killer Instinct. So just to clear things up, like I'm going to be working on all the games in there. So hopefully there's a game that you love that I'm going to be working on, but not only for Killer Instinct, but for Strider. And there's also some other titles that we haven't announced yet. But for me, it was a dream come true and something that I've always wanted to do for my career in gaming, and that's try to help make a better game for people who just love it. And the team just like welcomed me with open arms, and I get to do all the community stuff, which I love to do, but I get to sit down with the designer team, like the game designer team, and like I'm lucky enough that they asked me for feedback because maybe it's like my experience in playing competitively, but my open-mindedness towards people who play games both casually and on a hardcore like basis. So like it's just a dream come true being able to work on games, and right now like the first big one's gonna be a fighter. Like I'm really, really excited. I think KI is different for a lot of different people. For some of the guys who, are at TFC, they've never played Killer Instinct, but for a lot of other folks, it's the game that they grew up playing at the arcade. It was the sound of like Ultra Combo and Combo Breaker from across the arcade, which helped gravitate you towards that machine. So, there's that nostalgic factor behind that. But all in all, like without any crazy like messages behind it, it's a fighting game. And nowadays, with the people who are on the team and with what we want, we just want to make a game that just has a long lifespan to it. A game that's going to be fun from the get-go. You'll be able to pick it up, do special moves and combos off the bat. But then the more you play it, like every time you play it, we want you to discover like this fun new layer of it. Whether it's like the meta behind doing a combo breaker or not doing a combo breaker. It's spending time in the lab and recognizing the animations so you can have a better chance in your next fight. Or even just playing the same character, like you and 10 other friends, and then playing that one character 10 different ways. So it's a fighting game what we want for people to play and enjoy, but we want them to kind of like really be able to sit down and almost go to the point where you don't have to play it to think of strategies, to try to come up with different concepts for how you can approach a battle, and the event. But behind all that, there's kind of like this deeper aspect to it. Like imagine a fighting game which is going to have this embedded story in it, so that you're not only attached to like the mechanics and the way that the game plays, but maybe it's something about the personality of the character and something along those lines. So we want to make all these different little tidbits, and we're concentrating, like we're multi-focused on trying to make it good for all around players, because for me, I've noticed that gamers these days, they love different aspects of it. Don't get me wrong, like the people who probably watch this video, like FGC guys, like they want balance, they want mechanics, they want crazy broken stuff or elaborate combo systems, but there are other people who love fighting games or maybe the IPs, and they care a lot about the music, a lot about the story, a lot about like the intricacies and like crazy graphics and like being able to show off their game to their neighbors to show like, look what I can do. So I'm trying to do all of that with the team that we have. And it's a pretty good reason not to sleep at night. So since EVO, there's been a lot of really good changes. Like off the bat, what we do is every time we take it to an event, whether it's a fighting game event or a casual event, like we take all the data. Replays, how many characters got, like who got picked the most, what moves got used, like how many combo breakers per match, or even like the smaller little things like that. But off the bat, like there have been some cool graphical changes or upgrades. Like you can see the differences in the characters and the polish that they have. the way that the light reflects on them in certain parts of the stage. You can see the differences from like Evo up until the Thunder build. Mechanic-wise, tons of changes. The screen now expands so that you can see like a wider aspect of the entire stage, but also letting you play around with like spacing for ranged characters. You know, somebody like Laces can really play with it. There's been upgrades to the combo system. So, you know, to not take you too far back, but at Evo, you notice a lot of breakers. And you know, we don't want to take out breakers from the system because it's really one of the core mechanics of Killer Instinct. So we sped up the attack system, so like auto doubles attack faster. There's a new way to approach linkers or special moves within combos, and just cool little tidbits. So for players who played one, there's always something like a cool little key piece of information that we could share to kind of evolve from the last time that they've played. But I don't want to bore you too much with that stuff. But overall, like, we want to make the game enjoyable. Balanced is a really big thing for us, and hopefully you guys will get to play it the next time we take it around. Hopefully it's a game for the gaming aficionados who like are day one Xbox users or Xbox One users to be able to play a fighting game. You know, there's no other genre that's like a fighting game, and hopefully we can bring that experience to somebody who's maybe never played it. And I think with the model that we have now, with the game being available, you being able to download it on the spot, like an easy to approach model for somebody who wants to play it, and also for somebody who wants to take it to the next level by buying all these little pieces of content. I think it's an easy game to approach from the get-go, but then what we hope for is when you play the game, you kind of see the beauty behind the price, you know what I mean? Like, you get to play the game and like really dive into like what's really cool about it. It's important for the gaming community to be able to support a lot of the next-gen stuff, because I mean, that's where we're going. You know, I think there's a lot of cool tech that comes together with the hardware. You know, not only for Xbox One, but for every other piece of new console or new hardware that's coming out. Like, we should try to support it as much as we can. And it's a really cool challenge. You know, every time a new console comes out, I'm one of those guys who lines up and waits and camps out to get it, but I have to be considerate to know that there aren't people out there like me. And even if they don't get it on day one, hopefully we can keep giving you content that brings interest to you. Maybe go over to a friend's house who plays it, and that's where this availability of Killer Instinct really makes its mark, because there's nothing that you really have to do besides just download the game. And hopefully with that character they can play along with all the modes, because we're not locking out any modes. So everything that you can do with any other character that you would have purchased or maybe didn't, you'll be able to play off the spot. Like, we don't want to create this like sense of suspense, like what's behind this mode? No, we're gonna give it so you can really test it out. And even off the bat, like the training mode is gonna be there, like the dojo, like trying to be able to learn about the mechanics, like things that we think will help you fall in love with the game will be a cool piece of it. And you know, with the support of our partners over at Microsoft and the guys, you know, working hard in the studio, we hope that the people enjoy it. My personal goal with the current role that I have at Double Helix is try to really, you know, fuse that bond between a developer and the people who play that game. And like, I'm a firm believer that without the players that play the games that we make, like, we're nothing. And you know, I never want to see the downfall of games be the cause of like miscommunication or people just not talking to each other. So, I mean, I love it. You know, every aspect that comes with community development and, you know, integrating that with the people who work on the game, all the designers, and trying to figure out like what could we do to make the game better. And I think that my role can really play a significant thing, maybe for like gaming, like in general, for the future. Like, I see it with other developers where they just take this genius approach where they actually take in the feedback from the players. And it's not just from competitive players, but it's from every aspect of gamers in general. Like right now, you know what, I'm doing it solo, but I don't really care for sleep, like not one bit. If I can contribute to help making games like awesome, you know, not perfect. I want to always have a challenge out there, but if I can make them better than they can be, that's like my dream come true, man. For me, it's very much for the future of games and like the people who play them and the people who love them. Like, I want to try to create games and things within them that give people a reason to fall deeper in love with it, to be inspired to share and talk about it, go on forums, you know, create all that stuff and not be dependent on events to happen, but almost create like inner events within their own kind of groups of friends, communities, and just like people that play games as well. So it's going to be a lot of work, but Like, I wouldn't be alive if I didn't want to work. Like, this is what I'm all about. I really, really love it. And what's cool is like the people on the team, like the developers, like they care just as much about the game and the community as I do. And every time we implement, we sit down, we talk as a group, like how do you think, these groups of players will take it in? And for me, it's, coming from a guy who played games growing up and it was just like a hobby that consumed like 99% of my time, to sit in a room with people who make games and I can like vouch and say that they really care about the community is everything that I wanted. So I'm with a kick-ass team, and hopefully the community will be with us to build with us. And that's basically our motto. Like, we want to build with the community for the community. And hopefully you guys will trust us and just try out our stuff. Like, we will never seem forcive, and hopefully you just give us a shot.